We just finished a retreat in Spirit Vine. We are in November 2020. So thank you for sharing. I would like to ask you, what was the most striking part of the retreat for you?
So the most intense and beautiful part of the whole retreat was when I discovered through the workshops that my biggest block was my own feeling of guilt that I've been carrying for so long and that I was completely unaware of. And with the tools that were provided in the workshop, they helped me to guide me through the visions I saw in the actual ceremony. And it was not only my brain that was able to comprehend it, but I was feeling it in every part of my body. So I was really able to process and understand it. I had so much clarity of where the guilt and all these shame and fear, where it was coming from. And it really helped me to understand myself better. And it was like a small piece of enlightenment, like I've never felt before.
So you discovered this in the workshop.
Yes.
Which one is the first one?
In the first one, when we spoke about the inner child work.
Yeah. So you went directly to the first time that you started to feel this guilt.
Yes.
How old you were?
I was probably a little child when I first felt that I was guilty and felt really responsible for my parents. And I noticed that looking at my life, that from then on, everything I did was to punish myself from that guilt. And I knew that I had, like, bad people around and everything, but it was always more a form of blaming myself and destroying myself. It was a very self-destructive behavior. And it was just all made sense to me then, and now I'm able to change it, and so I'm so grateful.
So you feel more released now?
Yes. I feel like a big burden is off my shoulders, and I feel I can work from now on to call in good things in my life. And yeah.
After that workshop where you discovered this guilt,
Yes.
that night when you drank ayahuasca, you visited the same place or you went to another situation?
Well, it built it up. That same night of that ceremony, it started like a time travel. I started to feel when it was, and I had images coming in from how it started. And then from then on, I started getting images of the people who repeated that, and kind of like a pattern who I call
You
in.
created a pattern of behavior
Yes.
when you were attracting the same type of people into your life
Yes.
and similar situations.
Yes. And in each ceremony, it was a build-up of that, where I understand, like I took the layers off, understanding more and more where this was coming from and why it was happening.
Mm-hmm. Very interesting.
The most striking part of my experience here would be realizing that I am able to separate my anxiety from myself, and it's not mine, and it's somebody else's.
How did you discover that was not yours?
Through yourself, through me opening the door to my past and you saying, kind of giving me a nudge into what it kind of probably could be, which I always had an inkling about past trauma when I was a child, and then it just making sense. And I don't know, over the workshops, it only really dawned on me at the end, really. There wasn't a certain point, but it just made more sense as we went along. just to be able to watch it as a separate thing, and it's not myself. You know, like there's myself, and then anxiety, and then my experience in life. And, you know, you can choose to just take that out.
Can you give us an example?
Maybe on the last ceremony outside, where I felt just absolute peace, and just watching myself, and just putting everything together, putting all the pieces together, that you don't have to choose the anxiety. There's another option. You know, like you don't have to run with it. It's not attached to you. You know. Yeah, sorry if that doesn't make more sense, but yeah.
No, it makes sense. So you told me in a certain moment that it was very new for you not to feel anxiety, to feel something different.
Yeah.
How it is not to feel anxiety all the time?
That's amazing. Like, I felt I cried like more in this week than I have done in my whole life. And feelings of gratitude in the ceremonies, of love, for everything I have, and sadness as well. Like, yeah, it's weird. You wouldn't think feeling sad you would enjoy it, but I actually enjoyed it because it was time out from feeling anxious. So yeah, it was great to sort of have it's almost like the can of worms has been opened a little bit, and now it's time to sort of explore it.
Good.
But yeah.
I think the anxiety was a product that you didn't want to feel. You repressed your feelings when you were a child in order to survive. And the anxiety, you couldn't explain why, because you were not feeling anything.
Yeah, definitely. That makes
How
perfect.
can you cannot feel anything?
No,
Only anxiety.
Yeah, I've never felt anything towards anything of my past, so it makes sense that it would manifest as another feeling, you know, because I'm just not feeling anything. I'm never an emotional person, and yeah, I've definitely just keep that, not consciously but subconsciously, just keep that down there, and then we'll just deal with this normality now, sort of thing. But it feels like I've kind of like loosened it up a little bit, loosened the feelings up.
So if when you were a child you needed to suppress the feelings in order to survive, still you are in survival mode.
Yeah.
Even though you don't know, it's automatic. It's so automatic, but you are creating a danger when there is no danger anymore.
Yeah. I think the one thing that you've said to me that resonated the most is, and I have it written down now, it's amazing, is that you've been lied to your whole life, you know. Your anxiety has lied to you your whole life, and it's been telling you that something's wrong for 15 years and nothing's happened. So it's just a lie. It's just why you still believe in it, you know. And obviously that has to be put into practice, and you know, to realise that and keep realising that. But that was I don't know, just that saying about that just made sense for me.
The first journey with ayahuasca for you was very strong.
Yes.
And you have a lot of anxiety.
Yeah.
And I think it was a big lesson, because in the morning you were fine, we were all having breakfast, nothing bad happened. So you learned that all that anxiety was for nothing.
Yeah.
So a lot of energy for nothing.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a test. That was that is really hard.
And ayahuasca amplify what you have all the time, anxiety.
Yeah. That was very hard, and it showed me exactly what I do. But I'm glad I went through it. Sometimes you need to be dragged through kind of to realise, you know, you need to be shown something for it to really make sense for you. And I think, yeah, that was tough, but yeah, it done something.
Ayahuasca will amplify your pattern of behavior,
Yeah.
and of course will be uncomfortable.
Yeah, but they got easier as the week went on. It got easier, and I learnt to navigate it and realise that I've been here before and nothing happened. You know, and when I did get in situations where I felt anxious or like vulnerable or like my mind was running away with me, I managed to just ground myself and feel things and think, you know, I'd done that last time and I was fine. So yeah, just being able to do that, and hopefully I can put that into when I feel like it in everyday life, you know.
Yeah, I think it's the name of that is desensitizing. That each time you will feel a little less afraid, a little less anxious,
Yeah.
each time less and less, no?
Yeah.
It was so intense and nothing bad happened, so next time you know nothing bad will happen.
Yeah.
And next time it will be easier until you don't feel more anxiety.
Yeah.
There is no more need.
That's pretty much what happened as the week went on. Yeah, I managed to. Yeah, you're just kind of reassuring yourself. You're yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The reason why I came to Spirit Blind is because I had a lot of questions. Every time I would watch the news every night, it's just bad news on top of bad news on top of bad news. And it kind of made me question whether or not there was an existence of a God, of a creator. And I used to be a religious person back in the day, but since then I just cut off all my spiritual connections to a higher being. And when I was put through the ayahuasca ceremonies, I was just being hit with one revelation after another, and there was just so much to take in. And most of these revelations didn't even answer my initial questions at first. Before coming here, I had a list of questions to ask the entities that were on the other side of the veil. But I realized, was that you're not going to get what you want, but you're going to get what you need in terms of the real questions being asked. And there are more towards like who I am as a person. And I'm a person that is always thinking about the future. And this kind of thinking is just wasting energy, because sometimes whatever you're thinking about the future just doesn't happen. It's all in your head. And I learned that I have to be more grounded in the present, to be more appreciative of the present, and to be more humble, to be more grateful, and to not be afraid to get hurt. And these were answers that I didn't expect, but I definitely needed to hear them.
Yeah, because you were so controlled at the beginning, no?
Yeah.
If that don't happen, I will never be happy. It's very narrow, and now you change.
Yeah.
Now you are enjoying what is happening right now.
The most striking and revealing part for me, this journey with you, my third journey with you, is boundaries, and creating boundaries for myself and between others. It was a little hard to understand. There's a lot of parts to it. It was a lot of fear-based qualities in myself that I used with toxins to cover up my fears, and so those fears just kept building up on top of each other, with alcohol and cigarettes, basically. And being sober coming in here was a big difference. and not having to detox the way I was, I would imagine that I was before. And, you know, I would go into first ceremony, it was fine. I was like, oh, I'm gonna have fun. Second ceremony, I'm like, oh yeah, this is gonna be so much fun too. And then all of a sudden, all the fear hit, and I had a hard time going to every ceremony after that, because I realized that I was gonna be pulling more out of myself, my jealousies that were created from not having boundaries, fears of accomplishing things, fears of revealing my sadness, fears of feeling my sadness that I hid for almost a decade. In the sense of finally revealing the fears to myself and sharing it with the group and everybody else is very helpful. I was able to finally recognize that most of my accomplishments in my life have been based off of fear, and that was because everybody told me I wasn't smart enough, told me I wasn't strong enough, told me I wasn't good looking enough, told me I wouldn't be able to go to college and all these things. So I said, I'll prove everybody wrong. So I did most of my accomplishments in my life were to prove everybody wrong and prove myself that I was strong enough and good looking enough and all these things, even though I still held all those insecurities. So the boundaries that I'm setting is not to allow myself to feel that fear. I will not feel that fear anymore. I will not allow anybody to instill fear in me. And I will not allow anybody to tell me who I am. I will not allow anybody to tell me where I'm going with my life. I will create all that based upon my opinions and where I want to go now.
So you told us that you were a pleaser before.
I was, yes.
And now you discover that you don't need to please people to be accepted, that you can be accepted.
Absolutely.
Because for who you are.
I'm David.